All right, let's have it. Today is day 128, 365 days towards racial change. My name is Tom Lenz Nyback. Pleasure to be with you once again. This video goes out today, but I've been trying to press myself, and I'm actually behind. I'm trying to pressure myself to move this project along a little bit. My life's going to get very busy in the next year. But try to put that off. I'll keep you updated as that uh, evolves. We're here talking about black issues. What is black in America? How do we get to it? I'm in the interview process, vetting process of possibly participating in this diversity summit coming on. There's a lot all over the place, inclusion and things like that. And I hope I get in there. Uh, I want uh, I want to present an educational piece. In this case, it won't be all over the board as we do here in this forum, but I'll be talking about one black man's experience. I'll keep you updated and posted about that as that develops. So, black issues in America, kind of umbrella term. We're talking about institutions of slavery, marginalization, lack of inclusion in politics, business, education, um, a lot of stuff goes on. As we go through this, two thoughts have emerged in this project. First thought is the black slave mind still alive and progressing, still being passed on from generation to generation in such a society that claims so much freedom and inclusion and rights and things like that. Also, um, it's a flip side of the same coin as does the white mind of entitlement, privilege, expectation of favor get passed from generation to generation, and the way white people educate their children on a lot of things. I would love to have grown up like now with this perspective, black man perspective in America. I would have loved to have to go back and sit around the white dinner table and see what their conversations were like. Black people are much more. We live in the ignorance. But I just have the notion in my mind. Maybe I can corner one of my white friends and ask them what some of their conversations around the dinner table were. Did their conversations ever turn toward the behavior of black people or people of other races and colors? That's the mind I think moves on in America. I'm about to cycle through my meetings with my white mentors and friends, uh, and I need to remember to broach that question. Second thought is for financial literacy, understanding that black people, we just don't realize we're still slaves in many ways and senses. We're emancipated slaves. We are slaves, which we have laws to make it illegal to exclude us openly and discriminate against us. Uh, that's a little counter to the spirit of what we wanted man to do uh, here in America, I believe. I can give you a lot of examples, but I don't want to waste our time here with that. But financial literacy. Oh, the Federal Reserve System. Uh, do we understand? like I'm in a space right now where I'd like my financial literacy has brought me to a space where I'm looking for cash flow. I'm not looking for a big payday anymore. I'm looking for a business entity, and then for that business entity to be like a perpetual motion machine that just develops and drives itself and grows and prospers in America. That would be my slave. You know, slavery in a sense isn't all bad. I just we don't. It's when we've crossed over and dominated and abused another individual. I'm reading a text right now about it's from Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations. He was an economist, philosopher, writer back in the 1700s, and though he mentions slavery, you know, you got to understand that the European slavery wasn't America's usurious whipping post rape slavery. I mean, America really did a number when it got a hold of slavery. But blacks need to understand that, know their position, how their dollars are spent. You know, if a black person is renting a property, do they know they're paying someone's mortgage? They're not. See, I was under the understanding for the longest time that we paid rent to. It was an assistance and it was a cooperative agreement, not in America. See, America just likes to get a stranglehold. You know, we have intellectual property. We want that. We want to keep reusing and making profit off of minimal effort here, and I don't think that's not really being a citizen of the universe. Let me just put it that way. I got to write that down. Citizen of the universe. You know, asking uh, asking Americans to be patriotic. We're not patriotic. We're not locking arms in America, uh, so to speak, especially financially. And so let's pull back a little bit. Let's just say, what would a citizen of the universe be like? You know, then you're getting to talk about Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Jesus, Dr. Martin Luther King type caliber individual, that sacrificial uh, idealism towards man. And but when it comes to that greenback, that federal note, does your financial literacy lead you to understand what the federal note is? You know, an IOU for the government that based upon air and imagination, and how that's come to be created, and how that the whole system of banking has people working 2, 3 jobs, not enjoying their life. Now, practically begging for time to raise up their family and such. The financial literacy is an empowering aspect. Fortunately, we have the internet, and we can start to thrive now with the information age. I'm inspired by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. Read 3 of his works. First work, A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. He talks about these things. I'm doing a little offshoot of his work. And, he gives me the foundation, and we reference these works heavily. But he's where I got the motivation to dig deeper in my own life and for myself. Black labor, white wealth, search for power and economic justice. We are referencing this book today. Get these books so you know that I'm not um, talking um, out of thin air. It's going to be very important uh, for us to be on the same page going forward. And Powernomics, Dr. Anderson's national plan to empower Black America. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com and the Heritage Institute in Washington, D.C. Behind me, you'll see the hashtag #US2 symbol. Uh, that's the black women coming together, supporting one another, response to the hashtag #MeToo movement. Go to Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of a black Facebook. And if you found me here on the World Wide Web, you are technologically literate and can find your community or flavor as you will. Also, we have story time. We're about due for some story time. I want to speed this up because I finished the book and I'm finding sections that are going to need to be parsed and focused on rather than going chapter by chapter. So please stay tuned as we continue to wade into the deeper waters of Tom's life and other uh, slaves' lives and the slave owners' lives as we broach that work. So, like I said, today we're in Black labor, white wealth, search for power and economic justice here for Black people in America. I got a note to myself here. Well, we've had another shooting here in Colorado. That's very sad. Well, very near with the Columbine incident. Um, Trade wars and my stocks are being affected and all that stuff. So I'm shaking out my emotionalism when it comes to the stock market. Very sad. You kind of start out with a lot of gains at the beginning of the year, and president tweets and says things, and things go all sideways for the world. And we're fortunate today. I'll tell you what, we would not have slavery like it was if surveillance was the way we have it now. We got cameras everywhere and peepholes and doorbells and stuff like that. Yeah, how many thousands of slaves slipped through the cracks through abuse, neglect, starvation, rape, um, abandonment. Oh my goodness. I think, as we come to understand the world and then explore land, what we find mass slave graves out there somewhere on some undiscovered abandoned plantation land right here in America. Oh my goodness. That's just something to think about. See, we got surveillance nowadays, body cams, and this camera and that. So, even law enforcement, has to check themselves. They just can't go busting heads up anymore in public because they're on videotape now, Jack, and they're getting some feedback from that. All right. Culture-based ethnic business. That's what we're talking about today, focused on here out of Black labor and white wealth. Um, we're talking about, he has a big thing about blacks empowering themselves, getting involved in business, and structuring their own prosperity, structuring their own economic success. And part of part of his argument, he rightly does this. He's very methodical in his approach. He's first is going to educate us about how, why it's good we do that and why we need to do that. But he gives the evidence of the other peoples, other groups. Um, they stick together. They exclude the blacks. We get to the blacks get to carry the water, so to speak, and we get to do the menial parts of their of participating in their industry. But we don't participate in management, so to say. And some of these groups that we're going to talk about just exclude us outright, um, unless maybe they're just very desperate and can't fill a position even to this day. But for the most part, being the porters, being a man called George. If you just look up that title, an excellent movie about that, Pullman Porters. Uh, we carry the water of those people, but they're in management stuff, and I see it at my job too. Black folks in management, upper positions in the company I work for is rare. I will say that it appears that the place I work, home, is more liberal and open and more inclusive and tries to not present itself uh, as a place where race impacts decisions, right, negatively for black folks. But it's still, the ratios are still there, predominantly white, and uh, you just don't see darker people in the upper echelons of super billion-dollar companies. Okay. All right, blacks are a minority, so that's what we're getting at today. Cultural-based ethnic business is what he uses the title, but he's just saying how ethnicities, cultures, groups of people stick together. If it's the same way, like if we were to mingle with another race of people from outer space and stuff, we'd stick together then. I guarantee that color would suddenly not matter so much, because I'm guessing they might not look like us. They might have one antenna and 5 eyes or something. We probably wouldn't be mingling, and then we'd see the whole dynamic as far as being a human. So that's what we're going to get at today. Um, so we want to have a financial focus, more global uh, in scope, and as far as black folks pooling their resources, coming together as a group, and that's the flip side of the challenge. We got these forces on the outside of our community and scope, but inside we were still imploding, killing each other, drugs, high incarceration, falling into the traps set for us. Um, not educating ourselves, on and on. My old mantra. Um, in the brief notes, you'll see my example of construction sites. I used to do general labor cleanup. A lot of black folks down there. But then as you get up into skilled trades, drywall, electrician, sealing, plumbing, all that, it's you don't find a whole lot of color. Very rarely black people, and white men have the blueprints and are at the computers, higher up like that. And the Hispanics are they seem to dominate. They do the work. I don't really fault them. They showed up. That's half the battle. A big part of the battle is just show up, and black people didn't show up. We were outnumbered, and there's people spilling over the southern border and all those arguments. But black people didn't stick around, didn't follow through, didn't show up. You know, didn't uh, use it as a learning experience, grow from the pressure, and things like that. Me, I'm not destined to be a construction worker. I don't thrive, live for that. Maybe that could be a black folks argument for abandoning those spaces. you know. Um, so these groups benefit from exclusion, from excluding blacks, especially. Yeah, talked I think a handful of times, especially about the Asians. Very exclusive in their business practices and not uh, even dealing with blacks, even in the face of discounts, begging, and all that stuff. So he goes through a quick list here, and this is page 91 out of the book. The Italians, from what I understand, especially, they have the garment district. He puts the Jewish people up with the garment district. I've been up to New York and have dropped off up there when I was a truck driver. And you got to go. When you go into some of these, there's areas of the country that are definitely on lockdown by certain tongues and races and things like that. So the Jews and Italians with the garments, Jews with their jewelry, money, law, and the Jews. They were slaves too. They had a lot of encouragement directly from God, so they were more fighters. They had their Holocausts, various ones, and oppressions around the globe, things like that. So, like historically, they were not landowners, so they put their energies into education. So they became lawyers, and a lot of things we joke about with the Jews with power, but I gotta admit they earned huge chunks of that. What you gonna do about it? So jewelry, money, banking, law. There's the Jewish kind of overarching. Blacks are represented in these areas I'm talking about. How the point is that blacks are navigating more obstacles as they try to broach and navigate and penetrate these disciplines here in America based on the people who seem to be the majority in control of these disciplines. Irish over the alcohol industry. I don't know any black alcohol makers. You ever hear the saying, monkey can't sell bananas? So, like I used to use a lot of cocaine. You don't want to give me a big chunk of cocaine and expect me to sell it. You'll find me all tongue ripped out, all jammed up because I done smoked up somebody's pack or whatever. So, it's interesting. I'm not aware of any black alcohol manufacturers. So he ascribes it to the Irish and all that. Remember, maybe I need to reiterate Dr. Anderson's resume. This man, he's traveled the world. He's helped a president get elected. He knows the intricacies of education in Florida and Detroit. He's not the facts he presents here. He's not doing book study like me. I'm working off my experience and doing some commentary on the text. But he's lived it. He knows what he's looking at and talking about. Irish with alcohol, and Asians, cleaners, restaurants, uh, things like that. No, like this list, are you surprised by where these groups land and what they are known for controlling in the American economy? I hope not. I mean, it's. I don't even have to give you a list. I can give you some criteria, and you're going to come up with the same list. I guarantee you. So that's what blacks are dealing with. So it's important. Now, I mean, blacks. We have black billionaires and all this stuff. You know, what I'm arguing for here today is how do we get black people to get more access, to participate more openly, to be able to move uh, move more vertically within this um, within this American context. We don't. You know, after we get done jumping over obstacles and persuading and dodging discrimination and all that, it's decades down the road. You know, I mean, even probably with the best education, our best foot forward, our the best mentorship, we're still dodging, and you know, even after we arrive in these spaces, we're still dodging and all this stuff. So we got a long way to go. But the point, today's point is that, um, just being realistic about the dynamic that exists. First, we got to kind of cast off the denial about that. We're in a burning house, and we're in denial about that. We've been told it. We've got people like Dr. Anderson. I would even, lump in our past black leaders that maybe we might have issues with, groups, Nation of Islam, and all that. They're out there because there's disenfranchisement. You know, I'm a couple summers ago, I believe, we did have some black men snap and uh, go on sprees and stuff like that. I'm not advocating that. Violence only makes the system contract and circle the wagons when violence creeps up. So it's where we've got to penetrate the system and find success in nonviolence ways, like Gandhi, King, and Jesus did. Um, we got a long way to go, and there's a lot to talk about. Let me finish with this quote. This is for black people. Well, it's for everybody. Something, it's a fact from this book here, page 92. No other racial or ethnic immigrants have been confronted with such systematic opposition to their personal freedom, economic independence, and right to earn a living. Um, think about it. And I would even lump Africans, those coming from Africa, even have have an easier time than American-born blacks, especially those descended from slaves. So we got a long way to go. See, blacks see it, we feel it. I'm kind of tired of it, but if black folks would just give it one more push. Sometimes um, when I need to get some stuff done, I'll tell myself, can you just give me 5 more minutes? Now I need probably days and hours to um, get my project done and going. But sometimes just that little extra 3 to 5 minutes will get me going again. to complete a project. That's what black folks need to do. Just go a little further. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. It's day 128, 365 days towards racial change. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.